Hello everybody, this is Matthew Street. Welcome to my channel and welcome to episode 2 of the Beatles album Spotlight. Folks, for this episode, we will be doing a fan club only release, or bootlegs as it's normally called. This album is called The Beatles Not For Sale. Now this is, like I said, unofficial, so, don't say too much about it, but this album was first released on vinyl back in 1985. Can you believe it, folks? Almost 40 years ago. Now, this was one of the first fan club only issues that was of good to excellent quality with the material. Prior to this, we had been getting stuff that was very poor. It came in horrible packaging. The sound was bad to fair at best. Occasionally, you would get a good sounding bootleg, as they were. But this was the first one that I ever had where the sound knocked it out of the park and blew me away. The career-encompassing material on this, everything from early One After 909 rehearsal take, all the way up to some Let It Be material like I Me Mine. Quality was top-notch, folks. And what was nice about this, as I said, back in the 70s when we were getting these fan club-only issues, the artwork was horrible. It was terrible. Sometimes it was just a piece of paper glued to a plain white cover. But this was one of the first ones that the artwork was excellent. So well, professionally done. And I'll even show you the back a little bit on this one. The printing, great pictures, great images with the black background, very striking. And certainly with the Beatles, with their black suits and then this multicolored logo of the Beatles, absolutely fantastic. So artwork in the 80s on these unofficial releases got really much improved. And it shows on this one right here, The Beatles Not For Sale. Now, this one, and there was another one which I'll be covering in a later episode called Sessions. This one and Sessions, they set the standard for future Beatles unofficial releases. I mean, people couldn't go back after something like this came out. So when other companies tried to do fan club only issues, they really put their heart and soul into it. They tried to get the best sound quality they could. They tried to make the best, most professional looking covers they could. They almost looked like official releases after albums like this came out. So this album, as I said, along with Sessions, set the standard for what unofficial releases would be in the coming decades up to today. And it hasn't changed, folks. It's still a wonderful release. And if you can find it somewhere, I would highly recommend it. Now, my story with this album goes back to the early to mid 80s when I really started diving into the world of the unreleased Beatles material. I had lots of poor vinyl, as I said, where the sound quality was horrible. Sometimes I had homemade cassettes that people gave me. The sound was terrible. The artwork was so poor and just so unprofessional, immature looking. It just was horrible. But we were Beatle fans and we craved. And I was at that age when I got into my teenage years and early 20s when I really wanted unreleased material because I had heard it all from their regular canon. So now I wanted every little tidbit of unreleased Beatles that I could get. And so I got whatever I could get. And the quality would be, like I said, poor to fair. But man, when this came out, absolutely knocked my socks off. This opened my eyes and my ears to the possibilities of what could be out there in the vaults that we had not heard yet. I was amazed that I could finally hear some what I considered new Beatles music. Things, alternate takes, unreleased tracks, demos, and things like that. And it gave me a thirst for more when I received an album like this. I had to have more and more. So this album, because it was one of the first I got almost 40 years ago, I got this copy right here, and it holds a very nostalgic place for me, a very fond place in my heart for this album, because it was one of the first, and it was one of those albums that really helped me experience the genius of the Beatles' creative process. And I will forever be indebted to this album for doing that for me and setting me on a path the last 40 years, which I've never looked back. Check them out, folks. If you can find this album, check it out. Or if you have it, Maybe throw me a few comments what you think of the Beatles Not For Sale. Well, that's it for episode 2 of the Beatles Album Spotlight. I hope you will like and please subscribe so I can keep more episodes of this Spotlight series coming your way, and I appreciate it. Thanks, folks. Bye-bye.